Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Rob and I talk about high-end collectible comics and comics art. Subscribe if that's your kind of thing. I love to talk about comics and I post 1 or 2 videos a week doing just that. This week I'm talking about the ComicConnnect Event Auction number 63, which opened Monday, August 25th, 2025 and closes September 14th through September 18th, 2025. As you can see, there's a bunch of interesting books in this auction. The big news in this auction is the True North collection, which I'll talk about now. But there's some other stuff that's really cool. In fact, the run that I end with is surprising in so many ways. This is a great material in this one. It's one of the better ComicConnnect auctions since the Ruben Blades one, I think. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And let's go through it. So we're going to talk about the True North collection. I've already talked about it. There is a video on my channel about there are several PGX graded Marvel keys, which are interesting. Interesting that they even exist because like, I don't see very many PGX books for sale, and some of these are hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially. So that's crazy. But there's other books in it, and I'll talk about them, several of them in this video. But let's just introduce it a little bit with ComicConnnect's words. Just will give them their due because they brought the collection to market. I'll let them market on my channel real quick, and then we'll look at some comics. It'll be fun. Coming out of Toronto, Canada, this collection of nearly 200 graded comics contains solely first appearances and first issues from the Golden, Silver, Bronze, and Modern Ages, including some of the most coveted and historically significant comics ever published. The collection was painstakingly compiled by a Toronto businessman, a comic book lover from childhood who became a collector and investor in 2008 when he and his family saw the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, Iron Man. So thank you, Iron Man. Thank you, collector from Toronto, for putting this collection together. It's really fun. It's really fascinating. Only first appearances and number one issues, which makes it really cool. And to be honest, if you're looking for any major key, this is your auction because it's probably in there. There's no Action 1, but other than that, there's everything. So the first book we're going to look at, Detective Comics number 27, CGC VF Plus 8.5. This book is restored. It is moderate restoration, not bad. And there are 3 8.5 restored copies. This one has off-white pages, and there's one listed having sold in 2018 for $242,000, and it's listed as off-white pages. There is another sale from 2012, which doesn't have this serial number. The serial number is 10538280003. That one is sold for $130,000 in 2012. And then there's another sale in 2011, but that one has off-white pages in December of 2011 for $105,000. So I think maybe it's this one, the 2018 sale, or it could be another sale that we just don't see because it's not either of the other 2 books or one book or whatever. You know how this kind of gets with GPA sometimes. You can't really tell what you're looking at. So I don't know. But the last time a book in this grade sold was in 2018 for $242,000. So I think this one will do pretty well. Restored Mega DC keys have done really well over the past decade. So let's see. This is my favorite book in the whole auction. More Fun Comics number 73, CGC 9.4, Edgar Church Mile High copy. First Green Arrow, first Aquaman, first Speedy. I love this book. Cool book. Great first appearances. Undervalued. I mean, it's held back a little bit by the fact that neither Green Arrow or Aquaman are on the cover, but who cares? They're 2 significant characters. They're 2 like common members of the Justice League. Green Arrow was in one of the greatest runs of all time, along with Green Lantern, Danny O'Neill and Neil Adams. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and yeah, I mean Aquaman. That movie made $1 billion. So I mean, it's crazy. So love this book. It's church copy. Love it. Highest graded, 1 of 1. And yeah, and so the consignor bought this for $75,000 in February of 2012. When I took the screenshot, it was already at $92,000. So they've done pretty well for themselves. This book also sold previously in 2009 for $38,837.50. So that $75,000 sale was a good one in 2012. What wasn't a good one was the sale in 2009 because it had been bought and regraded. It had been bought in 2006 for $57,500. So they lost a ton of money reselling it 3 years later. What wasn't a bad buy was when it was bought in 2002. It sold on October 10th, 2002 for $33,350. So when it sold again later for $57,500, they did pretty well. So we've got people doing well, poorly, and then this consigner is going to do well for sure because he's already making money on the book. It's already at $92,000, and I think it's going to go bonkers. Here's a cool one, Dave Cockrum, X-Men 150 cover. This is a very nostalgic cover for me. It's right at the heels of the Byrne era, and so I think a lot of people at the time were kind of like hungover from John Byrne being gone. It was only 143, and Dave Cockrum was great, and this cover is great. It was really dramatic, and I remember seeing this on the newsstand, and I loved it. And yeah, hopefully this goes to somebody who really loves it because I'm sure that they're out there, right? This is a classic image of Cyclops and Magneto and Storm, of course. Okay, it's time. Restored. So there's a bunch of CBCS books in here, which is crazy because I just don't cover them very often. Marvel Comics #1, CBCS 9.4, moderate, extensive professional restoration. Color touch on cover, small amount of color touch on interior, pieces added to cover and interior, cover and centerfold reinforced, spine splits sealed, tear seals, etc. It's had a lot of work done to it. Really nice looking book. So if you're in the mood for a restored Marvel Comics #1 that is really nice looking, this is your copy. Similarly, if you're in the mood for a Captain America Comics #1 that is also restored, also moderate professional restoration, here you go. White pages on this one. Really nice cover. Really nice looking cover, at least. Let's see what was done to it. Moderate amount of color touch on cover. Pieces added to cover. Cover and centerfold reinforced. Tear seals to cover and centerfold. Cover reglossed. I hadn't seen that. So I take it back. I hate reglossing. Is that anyone else's least favorite restoration? I hate reglossing. It probably shines, but I mean, I just don't like reglossing. But again, CBCS 9.4, Captain America Comics #1. If you're in the mood for Captain America Comics #1 that looks nice, this one might be it. Because there are going to be some people that are turned off by the reglossing. If it doesn't bother you, then you're a winner. This is a really cool book, Marvel Comics #1, CGC 6.0, in that old holder with the Nick Cage collection notation on it. Very cool book. Of course, Nick Cage had 2 copies. He had an October copy as well, which is the best October copy I've ever seen or have ever even heard of. And I've talked a lot about October copies with people because I think that they're undervalued significantly because they're clearly a first print, a clearly identifiable first print that you can see on the cover. By the way, I need to do a whole video on that. But yeah, that Cage copy, the Cage October copy, is the best October copy I've ever seen. So, but anyway, this is his other copy, 6.0 Marvel Comics #1. Really cool with that Cage collection notation, which I love. This book sold for $36,800 on October 10th, 2002. Which reminds me, I need to go back and take a look at that More Fun 73 to see if that was part of the Cage collection. And yes, it was. You can see the notation if you squint. But yeah, of course it was. So great buy by Cage. What a cool book to have owned. He owned a lot of cool books. Okay, I've hinted at it. A lot of the books in this collection are from CBCS, PGX, which, the PGX books are really weird. I'm not afraid to say it. CBCS, I don't mind as much, but it's still strange to see so many keys in CBCS holders. So there are kind of books that I look at kind of oddly, but there are a couple of like really smart buys in here. And this is the biggest one, right? So he made an incredibly astute choice of not going for a restored copy of Amazing Fantasy 15. This is a very, very smart buy. The last one of these sold for $312,000, and copies have sold for over $500,000 during the pandemic. So if you bought this early, kind of 2008, 2009, 2010, he's going to make a lot of money on this book. Very cool book, obviously. Really nice looking copy for the grade. And yeah, it's going to be exciting to see where this one goes. And it's nice to see that with this one specifically, he made this decision to go with CGC, to go with an unrestored copy, and it's going to pay off big time. We go from there to, again, one where I kind of have to not question, but kind of mention that while it's CBCS, it's restored. It's not exactly the same buy as buying an 8.0 Amazing Fantasy 15. That said, all that being said, I love restored books. As you know, I talk about restored books all the time. I don't have a problem with them. And yeah, this is a Batman #1. It's a really nice looking Batman #1. If you had this in hand, your mind would be blown. CBCS 9.4, moderate, extensive professional restoration. Moderate color touch and pieces added to cover, pieces added to interior, cover and centerfold reinforced, spine splits sealed, tear seals to cover, cover cleaned. That's fine, right? So I have no complaints with that. When you see moderate, extensive, you can kind of expect that all of that stuff will be done to it because people are just like taking the book apart and putting it back together perfectly. And it avoided the cover reglossing that other book had. So there we go. Again, if you're in the mood for one of these big DC mega keys, this is your auction. Speaking of DC mega keys, again, CBCS graded 9.6, All American Comics #16, first Green Lantern. Off-white white pages, extensive professional restoration, extensive amount of color touch and pieces added to cover, pieces added to interior, cover and interior reinforced, spine splits sealed, tear seals, cover and staples cleaned, interior lightened, which I don't think I've ever heard of. I know that people can do it, but I don't think I've ever heard of that because that would be time consuming, I'm assuming, because you'd have to you'd taken the book apart anyway to do all this work, but you'd have to do some sort of process to each wrap individually. Interesting. I'm actually kind of curious how they do that because I know how most restoration works, but I've never really heard of interior being lightened. And how would you do that without affecting the ink? Really interesting. I'm going to have to research that for my own sake, if not for yours. All American Comics #16. You got to love that book. A bright and shiny copy of All Star Comics #3. This time, moderate professional restoration, so this is a little less heavy handed. Small amount of color touch on cover, pieces added to interior, cover and centerfold reinforced, spine splits sealed, tear seals to cover, and interior cover cleaned. First Justice Society, very cool, very iconic cover. And yeah, this is like the DC Mega Key restored auction to end all DC Mega Key restored auctions. I'm a champion for this book. I'm going to continue to be until my dying breath, or until it becomes hot again, or becomes hot. Maybe it was never hot. I don't know. It's never been hot since I've been paying attention to comics in this way, in this context. Detective Comics #38, extensive A5, color touch, pieces added, tear seals, reinforced, cleaned, interior lightened. So there's that interior lightened again. That's interesting to me. I don't know that why I've never seen that before, and I've seen it twice now. Maybe it's all in the hands of the same restorer. First appearance of Robin, in case you were wondering. People, hate Robin. I like Robin. It's Batman and Robin. You have to just admit that it's Batman and Robin because that's, the thing, right? It's actually the thing. Maybe you don't like this Robin. I like Dick Grayson. Maybe it's later Robins that you didn't like. I don't know. I don't know what you have against Robin. Maybe you don't have anything against Robin, but generally people like whatever. I'm rambling about Robin. Detective Comics #38. Cool book. Here's another sensible buy in a sea of interesting, if very cool, buys. Fantastic Four #1, CGC VF 8.0. This book was purchased for $35,000, March 23rd, 2017. An 8.0 sold for $75,000 last year, and two books sold for over $100,000 during the pandemic. So Okay, now I'm just going to show you a couple of these to remind you that I have a whole video on these PGX graded mega keys. X-Men number 1, PGX 9.2, Stan Lee authenticated signature. Tales of Suspense 39, Stan Lee authenticated signature. Old label PGX Hulk number 1, PGX 7.5. This book is weak for sure. By the way, just saying, just tossing it out there. This is the weakest of the books that I looked at. Some of the other ones are not bad at all. There's a Journey into Mystery that's great looking. But I just want to share some of these. Check out the video. I go into deep dive in all these books. And yeah. Brave and the Bold, number 28, First Justice League, True North Collection. Nice looking book. This book in this grade has been in a range since 2014. So it sold between $17,900 and $26,290 and has not moved much. So the first sale was in 2014 for $19,200. And then in 2024, 2 copies sold, one for $19,800 and one for $18,000. So not a book that's moving in any direction at all. It's just kind of living in this range. We'll see what this one goes for. All-Star Comics number 8, CBCS Near Mint Plus, 9.6. Extensive professional restoration, extensive amount of color touch and pieces added to cover, pieces added to interior, cover and interior reinforced, spine splits sealed, tear seals to cover and interior, cover and interior cleaned. First Wonder Woman. Nice looking book. It's obviously had a lot of work done to it, and it might be even visible since it sounds like there was a ton of color touch to the cover, how much work was done on it. And it would really depend on the quality of the work. But, again, All-Star Comics number 8, First Wonder Woman. If you need one, here's one. And actually, here's 2. So CGC 7.0, moderate restoration, color touch, pieces added, tear seals, reinforced. Not so bad. What I don't like about this cover is that it's askew, and you can actually see the cut lines on the bottom and the left. So I don't like the way that the book is cut, and I actually can't stand. I know it's really just dumb aesthetics, but I hate seeing a golden age book in one of those kind of magazine-sized holders. I just don't like the way that it looks. So that said, it's the first appearance of Wonder Woman, which is one of my favorite books of the golden age. So there you go. Okay. Adventure Comics number 40, First Sandman, slightly brittle pages, which is sketchy. This book, I believe, sold for $6,832, February 23rd of 2003. That's the only sale that matches this grade and is old enough to be in an old holder. It's kind of scary that it's had slightly brittle pages for 22 years and is still in that old holder, but we'll see. Really cool book. And even with the slightly brittle pages, I think $6,800 is a pretty good buy. A 5.0 sold for $4,800 in June of this year. So this will have to do better than the $6,800 it sold for in 2003. Here's one, Fantastic Four number 52, not restored, just CBCS 9.4. We'll just compare this to a CGC 9.4 when the auction is over. The last CGC 9.4 sold for $13,200 June 26th of 2025. So we'll see how it goes. That's kind of the range, 15,000, 20,000, 13,000, somewhere in there. So we'll see how this one does. And we're going to finish with, I'm not going to talk much about these. I'm just going to show them to you because I love them so much. This is my favorite set of books in the whole auction. They're crazy. Whoever put this Strange Adventures run together, you're my hero. This is awesome. So I'm just going to run through them. I'm just going to show them to you. And I'm going to leave on a high note because these books are so cool. Strange Adventures number 1, CGC 9.4. Strange Adventures number 4, CGC 9.4. Single highest graded. Strange Adventures number 5, CGC 9.8. This is a Dallas Stevens book, it's been a long time since I thought about Dallas Stevens. Anyway, highest graded, 1 of 1. This book is from 1951, by the way. Just keep that in mind. Look at that book. That is incredible. Strange Adventures number 8, CGC 9.6, White Mountain copy. Again, White Mountain goes from the late 40s up until like the 80s. Like there are White Mountain books from the 80s. I wish there was a White Mountain master list because it would blow all of your minds. Like I pay attention to the collection, so I know what's out there, but most people don't. They just like pay attention to the highlights from the Marvel Silver Age. And yeah, there's 9.6s, DC 9.6s from 1951 that look like this. Strange Adventures number 12, CGC 9.4. Another pedigree copy, Strange Adventures number 13, CGC 9.6, Spokane. Another gorgeous one, Strange Adventures number 15, CGC 9.6. One more, this old label, CGC 9.4, Strange Adventures number 19. Another White Mountain copy, Strange Adventures number 18, CGC 9.6, White Mountain. And with that, I'm done. Weren't those Strange Adventures really cool? Those books were cool. I can't imagine like putting together a run like that because there's just not that many out there. I wonder if the idea was to do like a full run at that level of Strange Adventures and they just gave up because it was so impossible. I don't know. I don't even know what the census holds for those books. So that's fascinating. Anyway, what a cool auction. I left a lot on the cutting room floor here. As you can see, there's some books I could have covered that all select. Number 1 looks awesome. There's a Starling 49 as well, and Archie Comics number 1, CGC 3.0, which we know is a theme for me. But yeah, I want to focus mostly on the True North books because they're so cool, and then a couple of other books that I thought were interesting throughout. Anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about these True North books. Again, let me know what you think about the PGX books and also what you think about buying CBCS restored books, right? I think that's a fine buy. But it is different. I don't see a lot of CBCS books for sale. I just don't. And so I kind of wonder where they even came from. Where they bought raw. Interesting, right? Like, I don't know. So it's actually a little bit of the backstory. I'd be fascinated to hear where those books sold because they just don't come up for auction in that way. I just don't see them. Anyway, I've got some new stuff coming up this week. I have some more auctions to cover. I have to finish up that ComicLink auction, which the comic books ended last week, and I believe that the original art is still going. I'll have to double check on that. I'll have to do a recap of that. I have to take a look at the upcoming Heritage Signature auction, the original art auction. So it's a specialty auction, single collector, and it's the one with the Master Comics and the Hit Comics number 5 and the Batman cover by McFarlane, and that I've already covered in a short, but I'm going to cover the entire auction, every lot from 1 to 20 or so. There's like 20 pieces so far because it's that good. The stuff in that is just incredible. So I'm going to have to cover that. And yeah, so there's plenty of stuff to talk about and it's going to be fun. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go and I'll see you in the next one.